Welcome to the Panza Panza Forum. In the Yoruba language, the word panza is usually injected into poetry to express an uncomfortable, uncensored, and inconvenient truth. The Panza Panza Forum is candid conversations about the life of African immigrants in America as it relates to their adaptation to their new home. While some may find it easy to integrate and can balance between retaining the original African culture while accepting the culture of their new home, many continue to struggle to find a balance between both worlds.
Hello and welcome to Panza Panza Live. This is a podcast where we discuss the lives of African immigrants and their assimilation into Western society as they raise younger generations in a country that is quite different from their own. We also explore the experiences of children of immigrants as they balance the African and Western cultures. We present to you this informative, interesting, and expansive dialogue about the intricate experiences of African immigrants in America.
Okay, welcome to Panza Panza. I'm your host, Kemi Seriki, and today I'm so honored to have conversation with Folashade Judith Ojo, a Nigerian and American on building bridges between two worlds, navigating Nigerian identity and as well as her African American identity. Folashade is the founder and the CEO of HR Media and Company, a minority women-owned HR consulting firm based in Manhattan. Over a decade of experience in HR and recruiting, Folashade is dedicated to providing human-centered solutions that drive organization success. She is also the founder of Let's Talk All Things HR, an educational platform designed to support businesses in navigating HR challenges. I met Folashade at OAN, Organization for Advancement of Nigerian Unity, and I was so impressed by how she conducts herself. I would say she's well cultured of both heritage that she had. She is the financial secretary of OAN. So welcome to Panza Panza, Folashade, and thank you for joining me today. I'm so delighted to finally have this conversation with you out of your busy schedule, because I know you are very busy. So as I always ask my guests, can you fully introduce yourself? Talk a little bit about your background to our audience as to where you were born, where you spend most of your childhood and adult life.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to speak with you. I'm really excited to talk to you today. So I'm Judith Folashade Ojo. I was born in Los Angeles, raised in Chicago, and I've been in New York for the past 14 years now. So definitely have hit all different major cities. So yeah, and love New York. So I think I'm here to stay.
Okay, that's good. So before we start to dive into more complex topics, I want to ask you to talk about your present profession and career. You are the founder and the CEO of HR Media Company, a minority-owned consulting firm based in Manhattan. And you have over a decade of HR experience in recruiting, and you dedicate many years in providing human-centered solutions that drives organization success. As the founder of this company, can you talk about how your cultural background influenced your approach to business?
Sure. Yeah, I think I'll have to say it was my grandmother and my father as well. So my grandmother on my mother's side really instilled the importance of service in me from a young child. So she was one when I was a little girl in Chicago. I saw her bring people from off the street to come in and kind of minister to them and feed them. She would make dishes like gumbo and things like that. And she was very passionate about the community and passionate about Black people. So that I think was also really very much instilled in me. And then on the other side, my father, who is a business owner, he's an architect. He started his own companies here. So kind of watching him and, thrive and go through his ups and downs as well, I should say. And, with business kind of shaped me into who I am today, but then also kind of looking at my own life experiences and realizing that there were a lot of issues and problems that I was able to solve that a lot of companies I previously worked for looked at it as being such a miracle. They couldn't understand how I was able to do all of this. And so then when COVID hit, that was when I really realized that I had a gift. This is a true gift. And so what could I do with it? And I began to build the business at that point.
Wow, that's so powerful. So that two heritage actually come together to produce the person you are today. And that's very powerful. And I think is so much advantage to you, where some people wish they have that, from your grandmother's side, your mother's side, whereby the sense of community, which is also similar to Nigerian culture too, because everybody is auntie and uncle. Even though you might not be blood related, but somehow you tend to connect with each other. That's very powerful. And can you share maybe some specific challenges or advantage that you encounter in your career as related to your dual identity or your heritage?
I think I've gotten a lot of crazy comments. So I've had people say, "Oh, are you really Nigerian? I don't really believe that you're Nigerian." I've been questioned a lot, as a Nigerian. In school, it started, but then also throughout my life. But I think it's also important to note here that it was interesting for me because my mother's family is Louisiana Creole. And so I was raised by my grandmother, who was proud of being mixed race. So she would talk to me a lot as a child about it. And I remember being a child, and telling my father what I found out, what I knew about, my mother's heritage. And my father would get angry. "Oh, you're black, you're black, you're black, you're black." So I kind of had to navigate through that because I was like, whew. It wasn't until I became an adult that I realized I'm bicultural. And having to explain to my aunt from Nigeria what cornbread dressing is, or having to explain to my mother's side some of the traditions in Nigerian culture. And I think it was interesting, that it took me that long to identify and find out, like, hey, I'm different. But the blend is what shaped me into who I am today. So I'm very grateful for that.
But even the food and everything is also similar to
very similar
Nigeria, especially the Yoruba, the Creole, and, it's similar in terms of the background. So, So why did you think your dad always telling you that you're black?
Because I think that he wanted me, no matter what, to know that I'm black.
Okay.
Which is a fact, But I think he really wanted me to focus on that. And I understand why, because as a Black woman walking down the street, nobody is going to say, "Hey, are you Creole or whatever?" I still to this day get people ask me, "Oh, what are you? Where are you from?" I get these questions. But I think for me, I'm proud to be Black.
Yeah.
And just kind of to be, completely transparent, a lot of the things that I encountered from my mother's side, who raised me, really helped me to navigate more towards my Nigerian side. Because I experienced and saw a lot of colorism. I saw a lot of different things that made me want to disassociate myself with that. Within the Black community, with the, Black Americans, there's a lot of colorism issues. There's a lot of, conversations around light skin, of course, dark skin, but then also looking at trying to connect with somebody who may have more European features and things like that. But for me, growing up with that and kind of seeing some of that, and some of my aunts saying, if someone said, "Oh, you look just like your aunt," and so one of my aunts or uncles saying, "She doesn't look like my sister, her dad's Nigerian." So it was always, yes. And these are true stories that I'm telling you, yes.
I had to open my mouth.
Yeah. So it really shaped me, and it really pushed me to really kind of shift away from that and really dig extremely deep into my Nigerian heritage.
Yeah, that's sad and powerful at the same time, because you have both heritage, and it is a heritage to embrace from both sides, which I'm going to talk about our Nigerian side too. later on. So how do you navigate the complexity of your identity in different spaces, like on professional level and then on personal level?
Yeah, that's a good question. I say I'm a Black woman.
Yeah.
I'm a proud Black woman. But I will say I also try to educate people on the different groups of the
Mm-hmm.
diaspora, people of
Mm-hmm.
African descent. I've done a lot of work and had so many conversations around how Black is not monolithic and what that looks
Yes.
like. And even within the United States, the number of Black Americans subgroups. We have the Louisiana Creoles, we have the Gullah, we have the
Mm-hmm.
Geechee, we have the Black Native Americans. I mean, there's just so many different
Yeah.
types of groups within
Yeah.
it. So understanding that, and then also knowing that it's okay to identify with both. And my mother, who really didn't get into that stuff, I found out as
Mm-hmm.
as I got older
Yeah.
that she too was hurt by a lot of the things that happened because my mother is like kind of brown skin and she was really hurt by a lot of things that she experienced because she was darker than a lot of her other, a lot of her
Mm-hmm.
family. But when I started to really dig deeper and be proud to be Creole and started cooking a lot of these dishes that her grandmother used to cook, it brought memories back for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand as a child why my mother really didn't talk about it. But as we get older now, I understand why she's much more open and vocal about it. And my sisters, actually, one of my sister, she recently just kind of opened up about her experience and what it's been for her within the family. I have two sisters and they're both dark skinned. So we had to navigate through that as well.
Yes.
Going back to my
Yes.
childhood,
Yeah.
people not even believing that we had the same parents and just the hatred and the issues and the lies that have been told,
Mm-hmm.
around Black people and around Africa.
Yeah. Even though I'm going to talk about Nigerians later on, do you experience the same colorism since you've been among Nigerian community?
Oh, absolutely. The first thing they ask me is, they'll say, "Oh, you must be married to a Nigerian," or they'll say, you're Nigerian? No, you can't be. When I say my name, Folashade, they jump.
Hmm.
I've had some people say, "Oh, what are you mixed with?" I've had people ask me, "Oh, you must be Igbo," because mostly Igbos are light skin. So I've had a lot of different things that have been said to me throughout the years. One of the things I think it's important to know too is my father tried to give me a heads up. He actually kind of discouraged me to
Oh,
not get too involved within the Nigerian community in a lot of spaces because he told me you have a dual identity. And because of that, you're going to have to navigate. And back then I thought, oh, my father's just being me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But then as I got older, I realized, wow, my father is right. I didn't think I would have to, navigate through that.
And some people are just lack sensitivity with some of the comments and the ignorance that comes along with it.
Yes.
Because if I tell you, my mother has the same, before she passed on, she has the same skin color like you, and I have an older brother that just passed also light skin. So for somebody to say it's only the Igbos who have light skin like that is very ignorant. And that's why this conversation is needed within the community, among the African in the diaspora, whether you are from the Caribbean or you are African American or wherever you are from, that you call yourself Afro. Afro means Africa. This conversation needs to, because it's creating so much division among us.
Absolutely. And we were called African booty scratchers.
Yeah.
I'm a millennial. So I remember when people did find out that my father was Nigerian, we were called African booty scratchers, my sisters and I, amongst a lot of Africans and Nigerians, back then in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't even know what African booty scratcher is all about.
That was a negative term. That was a negative phrase that they used to try to tease us and just all the, terrible things. And my sister, she still has deep wounds from what she experienced 30 something plus years ago.
Wow.
Because they were telling her, she was too dark and all these different things that she encountered. And she recently opened up about that to my mother and I. And like I was saying, my mother started, she's been more vocal about her own experiences that she withheld.
And it's so funny. Now you look at some of these top models who came from the darkest part of Africa, from places like Sudan, all these places that they're very dark and tall, and they see the beauty in them now. I don't know how this has all of a sudden changed.
Mm-hmm.
So what advice would you give to others who are also navigating this multiple heritage? Because I've come across Nigerian American who have that struggle in navigating through. And I'll compliment you that even though your dad, tried to warn you, you went in and said, let me see what I can gain from here. Because it's not only in every part of everywhere you go, every community, you will find positive and you also find negative. You have people who will embrace you, because Yoruba people, we're a very welcoming set of people traditionally. We pull people in. When they see you ordinary, oh, you are my sister, you are my brother, oh, you are my daughter, now I adopt you. So I'm not sure whether, have you ever you've been to Nigeria before?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, maybe one or, because if you go back home, the way they will embrace you, you'll be so surprised, So I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. So what advice would you give to somebody with multiple heritage like this?
I think it's important to go on your own self journey. For me, I tapped back into my grandmother and what she taught me. Then I started doing research. Then I started looking at different things. And it shaped me into who I am now. And so I'm comfortable with talking about it because that's who I am. But again, like I said, I definitely identify as Black first before anything else, because if I'm walking down the street,
that's all they see.
That's all they see. I've been able to help a lot of other people as well who may identify as multiracial, say to them, hey, when you walk down the street, you're a Black man, And so that has helped. That helps a lot. So I think just kind of understanding the world and the way people will view you. I think that was important for me to know, right? Because no matter how I saw myself, I needed to be honest with how the world sees
you,
regardless of what I say.
Yes. And like I've always discussed it, even on this podcast, as an African immigrant, back home, we don't see Black. It's not like you Black, you white, all this other stuff. We just identify according to your heritage, Are you Yoruba, Igbo? And I know your dad is from Ibadan,
Yes.
So even among the Yoruba, they say, are you Ijebu or Ondo? And everybody have their own unique way of doing things, even though we are collectively part of the Yoruba culture. And I think you're doing wonderful in that. So finally, regarding your business, looking ahead, how do you envision your cultural identity influencing your future accomplishment?
Yeah, I think standing up as a Black woman for Black people specifically, also brown people specifically, I really throughout the years, and it's one of the reasons why I decided to start the business, I was a voice for the voiceless, specifically for Black and Latino people, because they were the ones that I witnessed, sat in rooms where a Black man was told that there were no positions open. And my director at the time wanted me to lie, and I walked out of the office. I remember at that same job, them taking me off of recruiting and hiring because I was hiring too many Black and Latino folks or individuals. Yeah. And they wanted to be completely frank, they wanted white people in a lot of those roles. And I remember my director at the time saying to me, there was someone that we had just hired and she was Black and she had an afro. And I remember her saying to me, I hope she's not one of those power to the people. Ooh. So I think seeing all of those different things and seeing where they wanted to, a lot of leaders wanting to create these false realities in the workplace and, where they would come in the workplace and act like, oh, we're all together. Oh, it's a beautiful place, right? And so you have so many people of color who do not fit in no matter what. And so trying to, conform. So experiencing all of that and then understanding that we needed to have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
And also coming to New York and navigating and seeing that within New York, many Black and Brown people are only the highest that they go in a lot of roles is middle management.
Yes.
They're not in executive roles. Yes. There's not many Black and Brown people who are represented there. Mm-hmm. And so, understanding that and being an advocate for DEIA. Yes. And still being an advocate for DEIA, regardless of what happens in the next years to come.
The DEI is so much debate going on it now. And I don't know what is going to happen since Trump came into the office, So it's something that we have to see everything play itself out.
That's right.
So now let's talk about your multicultural family background and your community engagement. We said a little bit of it before. Can you share your experience growing up with an African American mother and a Nigerian father? How did these two heritage shape your childhood?
Well, it's definitely different because my mother would make gumbo and, I knew that. Well, she did great, though, because my parents were married and then they separated years before they got a divorce. Okay. And my mother was really big on trying to make sure that we knew our Nigerian culture. Okay. I mean, she would make moi moi. She would make jollof rice. She would make stew, sauce and rice. She would make all these dishes in addition to that to make sure that we knew about our heritage. Yeah. So we always had that mixture of a heritage. And then also, we had the fried chicken, we had the macaroni and cheese, we had the collard greens. We had all of these, different dishes as well. And I think, like you mentioned before, it's beautiful to see, the food ways. And so how even the way that Black Americans make their greens and with the meat in it, and how that's directly connected to Africa. A lot of different dishes, gumbo, of course, and jambalaya and all these different dishes are really connected. So it was pretty cool, I have to say, kind of having the best of both worlds. But then at the same time, it's kind of hard because you're like, okay, well, I'm here. Woo! Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm here. Woo! So it's a little challenging trying to navigate that. But I think it was great. I think it was great and necessary because I think it gave me a different lens on life. So, and I think little did I know as a little girl how important all this stuff would be because my grandmother and I were very close. And she shared a lot of different stories with me about the family, and, her family and, things that they had endured. And so I think that it's a part of my story. So I have to be able to tell it. But one of the things that I found interesting was that not only was it a part of my story, but it was a part of a lot of other Black Americans. Yes. Some of it we can't do anything about. Some of our ancestors were brought here, unwillingly brought here. So, of course, slavery, there was mixing here. And there was nothing that could be done about it. And, but being proud of it. And then my grandfather as well, on my mother's side, he was Seminole Indian. So he talked about that. He talked about, he was a Black Seminole. So he talked about his experiences and he would just start telling these stories. And I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I would have listened a little bit more to my grandfather to kind of hear some of the stories and things that he would say. So I'm grateful, that I have different lenses to be able to look at things through. But I say before anything, I'm looking at it through a Black lens, a Black woman lens.
Yes. Do you ever also have the chance to, because coming to your birthday when you turn 40, that you invited me, and I see so many diversity, at the birthday, meeting your mom and your sister, and then, the Nigerian and everybody. It's like, you pull that energy together with everybody. And that's very powerful.
Yes, thank you. For me, I think it was so important to showcase my Nigerian culture. It was so important to me. It was a homage to my grandparents who are from Ibadan. And it was just so important I wanted people to be able to, I wanted to bring Ibadan
Yeah.
to Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and the decorators and the food vendors, they completely understood the assignment. And I haven't had a chance yet to look at all of the pictures and videos, but I will hopefully before the end of the year.
I have amala and Gbegiri there.
Yes. That was so important because so many people, even friends who I grew up with, they have never had Nigerian food. They don't know much about my Nigerian culture other than Afro beats and jollof rice, right?
Yes.
So it was important to showcase that, to show how beautiful Nigerian culture
is.
Yeah, I mean, it's so beautiful.
And in terms of discipline and looking out from your dad's side and your mom's side, how is that?
Woo! It was like night and day. My mother did not play. My grandmother did not play. I was really bad growing up. So, and I was very talkative. I had a very smart mouth growing up. And so I got whooped a lot from my grandmother and my mother. And my father was extremely strict. So I got it from both sides. My father, though, he was extremely strict. I remember just getting in trouble for not putting lotion on. You don't have lotion in your mouth. It was like all different kinds of things, just very strict. But I realized that my father really wanted to make sure no matter what, that we always looked our best.
Yes.
And so I'm really thankful for my father for that. And I'm also thankful for my mother as well. Her family instilled similar. If you're going to do something, make sure you do it right. So just kind of understanding those types of things.
Yeah. So how did you think your parents' background influenced your values and worldview, both of them?
So my father, I think he really helped because he went to boarding school and he came to Chicago and he met my mother at University of Illinois at Chicago campus, and he met her in the library. And, he wasn't even a citizen at the time. And he met my mom and he fell in love with her, and the rest is history. But I think just realizing that my father came to this country, didn't really know anybody, decided to go to the United States. I think I get a lot of my fearlessness from, which scares him, by the way, because when he knew that I was trying to start a business, he told me, "You better not do it. You better not do it. You Folashade, you better not do it." And I think it was because he didn't want me to experience, failure. He had some concerns. But now he's one of my biggest cheerleaders. When he sees me post something on LinkedIn, he's like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you." I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to do that. And he always tells me, "I say special prayers for you more than my other daughters. I say special prayers for you in Nigeria." That definitely, having that international lens definitely came from my father, and definitely being fearless came from him. And also my determination as well came from him. My mother, I think, and my father also, his love for service. Both parents, their love for service, but more so my father with his love for service. My mother, I think a lot of my politeness and welcoming servant, all of, being servant and things like that really comes from her and her family. Yeah.
That's so powerful that you're able to combine both of them. And, from your father's perspective, in terms of his fear of you starting a business, because if he's back home, he may not have any objection towards it. But in America, you look and what are you going to depend on? How are you going to do this? And sometimes it creates so much barrier for us to actually face challenges and understand that it's okay to fail. And I know you got that also from your mom and your grandmother, because for us, we're afraid of failure. Even we pray against failure. It's so much negative that we attach to it. And it's actually may hinder us from actually challenging ourselves to see where we can reach. To the extent is all part of why we want our children to be in a specialty, whether doctors, lawyer, or engineer, where we know the job is stable. You're always going to be wanted. You will never, go broke. So it's all part of that. And I think it's part of the immigrant experience that we brought in. So I want to talk about your community connection. You are an active member of OAN, Organization for Advancement of Nigeria. What motivated you to get involved?
Yeah, when I moved to New York, kind of because of some of the things I shared with you before, it really drew me to want to know more about my Nigerian culture. And I remember I was looking for groups. I was literally searching for Nigerian groups here because I knew my people were here, and they were a large group of my people were here. So I was excited about that. And then I found out about the parade, and I found out about OAN, and I met you, 13 years ago when I came to OAN. And I just wanted to dig deeper. I wanted to know more and more and more and more about Nigeria and more about my culture. And I'd say even to this day, I'm just so fascinated with all the different things I've learned so far and what I continue to learn about Nigeria.
Yeah. And apart from what you said, what has the experience been like for you when you look at your contact with the community and how the approach? I know you mentioned it a little bit. How is that like for you?
It's been great. I think for me, it's really been the family that I needed here in New York. I have family here in New York, but it was different. It was really, really, a community, a family, that really took me under their wings and still does. And I remember back then, we were doing a lot of in-person meetings, and we used to have food after, and I used to take notes with a pen, notepad and a pen. I even remember like the unity that I love, the beauty. The prayers that I know that we prayed, at every meeting. I look back, and a lot of times I would come in there and I'd feel so broken. And by the time I came out from meeting and,
you are lifted.
I was so lifted. And there were things I was, going through and battling through at the time that nobody knew about because I was private. And that came from my mom, definitely not sharing anything. Well, both parents, I shared anything. Everything was okay, but more so my mom. Everything is okay. Let me be quiet. And so really, really treating me like family and sincerely treating me like family and really caring that everything, how things are going with me. And that was exactly what I needed.
Yes.
On my journey here to New York. Yeah.
So what have you learned from your interaction with members of Nigerian community that actually surprised you?
That's a really good question. Ooh, that's a really good one. It's kind of silly. I won't say that. I was going to say something else a little silly. Honestly, I think our passion for our community, the unity that we have, and I think that comes from a Black American lens. That part of me, I was so surprised when I really started to get involved how together we are. And that's what gave me safety. And still gives me safety, knowing that. And also, I was surprised to know that we may, not agree with things. We're strong people who have conversations and really work things out. So I was very surprised to see that, again, that unity that I didn't really experience on the Black American side and still don't.
Sometimes people feel like when Nigerians are having interaction, they think they are fighting.
Yes.
Because, we're being labeled as being loud. And by the time you know it, they are not actually fighting. Right. They might have some disagreement, but, you will see the passion, we speak with passion. Yes. And a lot of people may not understand that. And the sense of pride, I remember at my job when on Friday, I usually dress in Nigerian attire. People look at me and say, oh, anytime you put that attire, it's like something else came on you, the way you carry yourself. And I said, I don't know. I walk the same way, maybe the way you view me.
That's right. That's right.
It is what it is. So that's good. And I want to ask you about your extended family. I know you have never been to Nigeria before. I know you talk about your aunts and from your dad's side. What was it like?
I have never met my aunt before in person. So very exciting to talk to her through WhatsApp, video. And I have to say, my grandfather, one Christmas, she called me and got on the phone with my grandfather. And I talked to my grandfather on the phone, but I had never really seen my grandfather with video. So during COVID, she actually did that. And I started crying. I was hysterical to see my grandfather. Yeah, to see, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I know they will feel like they want to hold you.
yes, they want me to come so bad. And my uncles have been very encouraging. Specifically, one uncle has been very encouraging for me to go to Nigeria, was really encouraging for me with making sure that I actually get my Nigerian passport. I go to Nigeria. I think it's also important for me to add as well that growing up, my father didn't really want us to come back to Nigeria.
Yeah.
And my mother was horrified for us to go. So my father always promised that he would take us to Nigeria, but did not. And I found out as I got older that it was because of some of the things that happened with him and his siblings in Nigeria growing up. But, I'm glad that my aunt and my uncles encouraged me to still please go home because that is my home, and I need to know and really experience where my people are from. And just, I'm looking forward to it when it does happen and when it does come. And I'm praying that my grandfather will continue to hold on. Yeah. So next year is definitely all roads lead to Nigeria.
Wow. Let's keep our finger crossed. So would you want to go with your dad? Have you spoken to him about it?
Oh, yes. It actually started a big fight. Because my cousin told my uncle, who told my father, and it became this big fight. And then my uncle and my dad got into an argument about it. And my uncle was like, Sade is 40. Why can you not tell Sade she cannot go to a country? So that's how it is. That's where we are.
Oh my God. Oh my God. And I want to talk to you about your father's immigrant experience,
Sure.
Because a lot of us as African immigrants, many people don't know what we struggle with. They see us from outside. They don't know what we struggle with. Some may look at you that, oh, you don't want to intermingle with other people without knowing what are the issues that is actually going on. So how did your father experience as an immigrant shape your family dynamics?
I think the fact that he had to work really hard. So when he came to Chicago, he leans on my mother's family. And I had to thank my mom because he's a citizen today, partially because of my mother, because of my grandparents and the role that they played in helping him. And then from there, he was a cab driver. Yeah. So he had to, drive all around the city of Chicago and the suburbs and things like that. And he just continued to go through, whatever job he needed to take to make sure that he took care of his daughters. I remember his first job as an architect. He had gotten a job as an architect in Chicago. And I remember my father being so excited. And from there, throughout their divorce, and once that was done, my father decided, he moved to Michigan and decided that he would start his own company as an architect. And he's done really well. I mean, he has offices in the UK and in Nigeria and and here in the US. And he's built universities, he's built schools. He's just been extremely successful. But I look back at, where he started. And the fact that he's a big dreamer.
Yes.
When I say this, I don't mean to be heartless. He was a big dreamer. He was more so a dreamer than my mother. And so I think that one of the reasons why things didn't work out with them is because he knew that he had a greater purpose. And my mom just didn't want that life. So that to me is the blueprint
Mm.
for me
Yes, yes.
as his daughter. And I think he's known it for a while. But I get it from him. So
Yes, yes, yes. That drive that is so
the
powerful.
drive,
And,
yes.
not being afraid to take a challenge that comes your way.
That's
And
right.
you're willing to move on. Did it
Yeah.
talk to you about the experience of racism or biases or the experience of discrimination that you went through when it came to this country?
Not so much that I remember, but I know, again, it was so important for him to talk to me about being Black and, where we come from. I do know that he, honestly, I'm going to be extremely transparent here. He was kind of like, I don't trust white people. And he was kind of encouraging, hey, be careful. And he didn't really go into details as to why, but I think, some of his experiences that he encountered,
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Does he talk about the feeling of loneliness, isolation during his early years in the United States?
No, funny enough, my father he loves to party. He's very sociable, is what I was trying to say, of course. And so he has friends that he met as soon as he got here to the US. And he had one friend that he's been still friends with, Black American, but he was able to find a lot of his Nigerian friends who also came to Chicago because there was a lot of them there.
Yes.
And remained friends with them throughout the years. So my mother talks a lot about all of the Nigerian parties that she used to go to and that's how she learned how to make jollof rice and stew and moi moi and things like that. So I think he definitely had his community coming to Chicago, and he was really happy, about that.
Yeah, that's good. So apart from the jollof rice, what other tradition that you see that you maintain?
I would say the prayers. My dad sends me like Yoruba prayers. So I have it saved on my phone. So that's something that's really important. I say a lot of the beliefs that he instilled in us, Yoruba beliefs, I still, keep that dear to me. And when my sister graduated from law school, I saw my father in action. He saw some Nigerians. He said, "Those are my people," and he just like ran away from me. He went to go to introduce himself to them, and he's like, "Oh, he's just talking, and let me know if you need anything." And I was blown away by that, but also found that to be so beautiful because my father is still, no matter what businesses he's built or he's really always made sure he wants to give back. He wants to make sure his people are okay. Is there something that they need? So
yeah, that's wonderful. Because at the moment Nigeria sees each other, we're ready to run and connect, especially when you're living in a place where you rarely see your people.
That's
and it's
right.
as if you are in isolation, so it's something that we cherish so much. So did he ever talk about his difficulties in adjusting?
Not so much. I think one of the biggest things for him was his accent and having to navigate that because no matter where he went, they knew he was from Africa. So I think he had to really navigate that all the time. I think that was a challenge for him. I may not say it, but I think it was a challenge for him, especially in Michigan when he first started out. It was definitely a challenge for him. And I think also when he got to Michigan, I think it was different for him because there wasn't that many Nigerians, right? Like it was in Chicago. So even to this day, when he goes to Chicago, he goes to his Nigerian restaurants and he'll get all of these things he'll bring back with him. But I want to go back to traditions because there's one thing I remember that my father did do. He taught us about the toothbrush that he used, right?
The chewing stick.
The chewing stick, yes. So that was a really big part of my childhood. The chewing stick was always around.
We use it in we call it pako. The Yoruba call it pako.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So it was something that you never could imagine, somebody using chewing stick. And did you ask him what is that for?
I did all the time.
And it's so funny, even the Jamaicans, they use chewing stick.
Wow.
Yeah. When you go to a Jamaican store, you will find chewing stick that they sell.
Wow.
It's also in different flavors.
Wow.
Since you are in New York, just go to a Jamaican store and ask them for chewing stick. They sell chewing stick there.
Wow.
Because I've come across, you see how the culture passes
Yes.
from
Yeah.
one place to the other, and it's something that we need to share it. That's why there has to be open dialogue among people of Africa in the diaspora. So how is this immigrant experience influenced the way you understand immigrant struggle in America?
Well, my dad definitely was a perfect example of what it was like. I think for me, another turning point in my life was when I had never really been out of the country like that before, but my cousin got married in London, and my experience going to Europe for the first time. And I remember feeling scared because I didn't know, they were asking questions, asking me to fill out a form on the plane. Nobody told me these things. Going through customs. And for the first time, I was in a place I had never experienced. Yeah. And that was a turning point for me because I said, wow, this is probably how I can only imagine how my dad felt when he came to the U.S. and how other immigrants feel when they come to the U.S. It's a world they're not, accustomed to. So I'm just so proud of my father because I think a lot of odds were against him.
Yes.
And he really has done well. His business has done well. It's definitely had its ups and downs. He didn't give up no matter what, even when it looked like he thought he was going to have to close the business at one point. I mean, it was a setback for a major comeback, really. So I think it's the story of many immigrants, my father's story. And it's one that I think will always be a story because immigrants have come to the United States and they created so much for this country. And I'm proud to be the daughter of an immigrant because it does let me know and see what you can do no matter where you're from. And I think that's something that was really, really, I'm glad we're talking about this now, actually, because this is coming back to me. I can remember my father always encouraging my sisters and I and saying to me, if I can come from Nigeria and do this, there's no excuse for you girls.
Yes.
And the importance of education.
Yes.
He wanted me to go back to school. He told me I should go and get a law degree. I'm like, Dad, I have masters now. I want to stop.
That's right. And you are thriving. You're doing well.
Thank you.
You're so right with what he said, because, when you come here, you want to grab as much opportunity as you can. And I think this also created a lot of challenges between African immigrant parents and their children, because the sense of pushing, you have to do this, you have to do that. In this country, there's so much opportunity. Why not taking advantage of it? And they are not understanding the two background that they are raising the children in. What you just put out there is very powerful, because I've seen many complaints from many of our children that especially Nigerian parents tend to push them. You have to be this, you have to be that, get up, because we come from a place where you have to struggle to be able to get things done. So, and coming here where you don't have to worry about going to the well to fetch water. When you open up the tap, the water is right there. When you click the light is on. So what more is to look at what more do you want? But sometimes it could be detrimental to, without understanding what the child may be struggling with.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I've heard of that. So did he ever discuss some of the lessons that you learned in this country as an immigrant? Did he ever discuss it with you?
Not really, just about working hard. I'd say he always talked about and still talks about working hard and make me proud. He usually ends, even to this day, he ends conversations, continue to make me proud, continue to make me proud. And I think that comes from him, going through all the things he went through.
Yeah, he went.
I found out through my cousins that my father and his brothers had some friends that were playing when they were children. And the story was basically they wanted to go and hang out with their friends this day. And they were like, I guess by some well or body of water. And my grandfather told them that they couldn't go. And so they were so upset that they wanted to go. Anyway, long story short, their friends who invited them to go, they drowned.
Oh my God.
So that was part of the traumatic experience. One of the traumatic experiences that my father experienced with his siblings that he did not tell me, that my cousins were able to share with me.
Yeah. And it kind of like suppressed that. A lot of time, it's not something we talk about experience, like trauma that we experience even growing up, because we focus on thriving, that we are not dealing with some of the issue that we were raised with. And then sometimes, we pass all those things down. I'm not even saying him, but in so many homes, so many stories that I've heard, regarding that.
And I think the other part too, from his immigrant experience, was that he'd always tell me, I would always come to him with all this, stuff. And I don't want to use the term fluffy talk, but in a way it was just kind of all of this, unnecessary talk. And my father would say, Sade, enough, enough already. You're focusing on the wrong thing. So he taught me to focus on what's important, and the things that are not that important, not to be concerned about. Don't worry about it. That also has really shaped me as well.
Yeah. The word that you just said continue to make me proud. And being that you have African American background and a Nigerian background, I've seen some of the children here, when the parents say continue to make me proud, they feel that words also indicated that the only way I could get my parents' attention if I make them proud. If I do what they want me to do. That is the only way I could get their attention. So it tends to put pressure, and some kids tend to act out. And you didn't take it that way.
No, I'm very frank. And funny enough, actually, my father, after he didn't want me to start a business, and I told my father, I said, Dad, I have to be honest with you. I'm doing this for me. Not for you. I appreciate you, right? Of course, I'm going to continue to make me proud, but I got to make me proud first.
Yes.
And then I also realized that I told my dad this. I was like, Dad, I don't want to have to depend on you for money. You can get mad at me tomorrow and not want to give me money and I have to go through this. No, I want to make my own money. And that's what I told him. And he laughed. I said, a guarantee is me. I said, you're no guarantee, Dad. You may get upset with me tomorrow and decide, hey, I'm not going to help you. You're an adult. What are you going to do? That was another thing, too, that was big growing up, and then as I was, especially when I came out of college, my dad was like, you're an adult now. I'm not helping you anymore. So he definitely made it tough, which is a good thing, because it encouraged me to do my own thing. And to put me first. And so with making me proud, I was able to make him proud. And we'll continue to make him proud. But I had to understand that it was about me making me proud first.
Yeah. That's true. That is so true. And I know many people who will listen to this will really appreciate what you just shared. So is there any particular story or moment that is so funny from your father that you could share with the audience?
With my parents or just my dad?
Your dad, maybe both of them together.
I say my dad's silliness.
Okay.
My dad used to come and pick us up, and he introduced me to a lot of artists. Actually, my dad introduced me to like Slick Rick and all of these artists. And there was a song that used to come on. So my dad, whenever he used to pick us up, he would play this song, and it's like, Mr. DJ, won't you play my favorite song? So my dad would, he would get excited and play this song. So whenever we got in the car, in Chicago, headed to Michigan, he would put that on and, we would dance, and it was like different parts and skits and stuff, within this song.
Yeah.
I think that was really one of my favorite parts of my father and still is,
Yeah.
And I would say my parents together, I would say when I was little and we were living in California, I think just being with my parents, and seeing them together. And even when they were trying to work things out, the adventures that we would take, with my parents. My dad made my mom laugh a lot. So I could see how they got together in the first place. My mom was impressed with him. He was different, and he was smart, and I think that, he brought the best out in my mother. And so, yeah.
Wow. That's very funny, in singing and everything. And you hear him singing. It's something that wow. So imagine if an African immigrant child, even both parents are immigrant, and they're listening to you and they're struggling with relationship with their parents. What advice can you offer?
Whew, that's hard because I'm still working on that with my father at times. Stand your ground.
Okay.
Stand your ground. My father and I have an amazing relationship, but we have times where we take a break from each other. And as I've become an adult, part of it has been me standing my ground. And saying to my dad, hey, I mean, this is the way that you feel, but this is how I feel. And my feelings matter as well. So I'm kind of like the child that just didn't just say yes and, take everything. No, I'm going to speak up. So I would say speak up, but then also understand their viewpoint and where they're coming from and ask them. I think communication is what's most important. Although I will say, a lot of times my father didn't give me the opportunity to be able to communicate. It was pretty much what he said or the highway.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I think we're still navigating that. But I think he understands, he's beginning to understand, me. Okay, my daughter has voice, right? So, okay, I have to understand where my daughter is coming from, here. We might talk for a little bit. Okay, we might take a break because we did literally take a break after he found out that I was going to Nigeria and he was videos to try to scare me. So we definitely took a break. And once he saw that, things were going well with the business, then he started reaching out to me again. And so we now, back in talking terms.
In talking terms, yeah. But you have a good spirit about you anyway, because you're kind of understanding where it's coming from, some of his fear. Sometimes we parents, we tend to put the fear that we have inside on our children.
A lot of and that, okay, so that's part of a big part of the experience with both parents. That my mother is extremely fearful, and my father was as well. Even though he was, he's like doing stuff he was afraid, but he was still doing it. That fearful part. I think growing up with both parents being like that and worrying and stuff really forced me to be the opposite.
Okay. Because, you learn from them.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. That's really good. So in closing, anything that we didn't talk about that you want to share?
Not that I can think of. Off the top of my head.
And your sister, is there differences in relationship between her and your dad?
Other sisters? Oh, yes. Yes. So I'm the oldest. My little sister is very vocal like me. She's a riot. But my middle sister, she just is like, oh.
In between.
Yeah, she's in between. So she's very passive. So they have a great relationship for that reason. Baby sister and I, we are literally very vocal, stand our ground people. My little sister is an attorney. So we're definitely very, very stand our ground people. And so we definitely bump heads with our father often.
Yes.
Because of that. But my middle sister is that middle ground.
So you could connect with her.
Yes.
So how can a listener connect with you on social media or even with your business? Maybe they want your services. How can they connect with you?
Yes, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. My name, Judith Folashade Ojo. My Folashade is with an H after the S. They can also go to the website, hrmediaandco.com as well.
So, Folashade, I want to tell you came from a very powerful heritage.
Thank you.
African American and Nigeria. Specifically, I would say Yoruba heritage. Yoruba is a very rich culture as it relates to our language, which I know you have seen, from the way we speak, our traditional religion, art, music, and dance, which I saw you during your 40th birthday celebration. We are one of the largest ethnic group in Nigeria and in Africa. You'll find Yoruba people in Togo.
Yes, and Benin.
In Brazil, in Cuba, those who continue to connect with their background, even in Trinidad and Tobago, and also in South Carolina, where they have the Oyo Empire there that they build. So we are very sociable people, which you might have seen in the way we express ourselves when we celebrate an event, such as going to a wedding, naming ceremony, housewarming, and even funeral. We also celebrate that. And I hope you continue to embrace who you are and the traditional that produce such a beautiful woman in both in and out of yourself.
Thank you. I think that's the beauty too of Nigerian culture, because I was named Folashade for a reason.
Yes.
And I believe heavily in what Nigerians do with naming their children.
Yes.
Because I didn't realize it until I became an adult, but Folashade means the one who wears the crown.
Well.
So, as I'm becoming, I have to wear the crown. I have to step up to the name that I've been given.
Yes. And it's very powerful, because when you know the meaning of your name, it carries you every day. Imagine when you go to Nigeria, they will do oriki. Oriki is like a chant of poem from each household, the Yoruba chant. You might experience that where they will start chanting your name and put it into this proverb, into this poem, the family poem is oriki. And many people, when they are saying it to you, it's like your head will start growing. You feel the joy of tears and pride coming through you, because somebody is reading this powerful poem that is passed from generation to generation down to you. And imagine a child who wakes up in the morning and your grandmother lives in that house. Your grandfather lives in the house. Auntie lives in that house. Because traditionally we live in a compound. And a child wake up in the morning, you go and greet your grandparents, you greet your father, and they chant that oriki to you every morning. Which is part of what our children are missing who are born here. And also some of us too, coming to this country, the setup does not allow you to do that.
I'm looking forward to the oriki.
Yes. So, I'm so glad that you decide that you're going to go. And I know all those people are looking forward to seeing you. And they will protect you no matter what. So thank you so much. So Pansa, in closing, Pansa continue to normalize conversation about the importance of community engagement, about African immigrant experiences in America and in the diaspora. As I always continue to say, as we continue to discuss issues within our community, we're shredding away uncomfortable dialogue. Folashade, I want to express my deep gratitude for your openness and your generosity in sharing your experience with me today. Your willingness to be vulnerable is a testament of your strength and your courage. And I'm certain, and I know your words will enlighten and inspire those others who have the privilege of hearing your story. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Auntie Kimmy. I'm so blessed and thankful for the opportunity.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Panza Live Podcast. We hope to have you back with us in the next episode as we continue to explore the nuances of the African immigrant experience. If you'd like to connect with us, you can email us at talk@pansapansa.org. That is talk@pansapansa.org. And follow us on Instagram at pansa.pansaforum. Until next time, remember to spread kindness and love. Thank you and take care of yourself.